today's video we're going to look at how to rotate our bust dart to our Armscye location. I'm Izzy at Minerva and I'm going to be talking you through step by step how to do that using your own bespoke body block. This video forms part of a mini-series where we look at rotating the bust dart all the way around the bodice front. This is a great little exercise to do, really fun to see the impact, and in today's video we're going to be using our bodice blocks. I'll talk you through step by step how to rotate the dart around, then we'll sew it up together and look at the aesthetics and the impact that that makes on how the garment looks. Depending on where your dart sits on your bodice, it does have quite a big impact on the way it looks. So it's quite fun to have a little look at that and explore that a little bit deeper together. As ever with this series, you're going to need your standard pattern drafting tools, which are listed next to me now. Obviously, you'll be using your own bespoke bodice block that you've drawn up, which we've done in a previous video together. We've also done a whole series on fit, so you can make sure that your block is fitting you beautifully and then move on to look at this dart manipulation with me today. So let's get straight into it. To start off with, trace over your own body block because we're going to be cutting into it and manipulating it. So make a copy of your body block. Please do not use the one that you've drawn up and spent hours on. Definitely trace over it. Okay, and then grab a sharp pencil and we're going to start to make some changes to the block. For the purpose of this video, I'll be using a sharp marker pen so you can see really clearly on your screen, but obviously you should be using a nice sharp pencil so that you can get it as accurate as possible. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to rotate this dart that we've got up here, and we're going to rotate it around to the Armscye, which is over here. We know that our apex is down here, which is great, so that becomes the pivot point for all of our darts. So let's look at moving the volume from here and across to there. Now, when we're rotating the dart across to the Armscye, it really can be located at any point. We could pop it down to the bottom of the Armscye, we could bring it up to almost the top, we can rotate it around, and the impact that has will, have an impact aesthetically. So find a location along the Armscye that you want to make your dart kind of tie into. And for me, I think I'm just going to choose a point about halfway along. Mark that point on the Armscye and then draw a line directly to the apex. This will form your cut line for your dart. Next, we're going to cut down the bodice dart to remove that volume. We're going to cut all the way to the apex. Next, we're going to cut along the line from the Armscye to the apex, leaving a pivot point at the apex. Next, remove the volume off from the bust dart completely. And then just close up that dart, pivoting at the apex. Once you've done that, just pop a piece of sellotape to hold that down together. What we've done is remove the volume that was here and we've taken it out, and instead we've just popped it into this bit here. Now can you see that the volume that we've removed from here is exactly the same as what we've actually put back into the Armscye? So the amount of volume that we've got covering our bust is going to be the same, the amount of fabric. It just looks a little bit shorter here because the length of the dart isn't as long. That's a really nice way of just seeing that all you've done is rotate the volume that was there around to there. So we're almost there now, but we've got one little thing to do. Take a piece of paper and put it underneath your block. I then want you to find the center of this dart and mark it on. So start up at the top up here and measure the distance between the opening of the dart at the Armscye. For me, it's just 3 centimeters, and mark that midway point. Take your ruler and join that point to the apex. Next, mark a point that is 2 centimeters offset from the apex and mark that point along your center dart line. We're now going to draw in a new dart with legs that go from the Armscye to that new point of the dart. The only thing left to do is just to tidy up this bit over here and add the top of the dart. Now the reason why we've moved the point of the dart from being at the apex just a little bit further offset, 2 centimeters offset from the apex, we want the fabric just to cover over the bust really nicely and smoothly. So by offsetting it by 2 centimeters, it just gives a little bit of softness to that area. And likewise, don't forget that we also drafted the waist dart in the same manner. We offset it by 2 centimeters from the apex. For our block, it's really helpful to have our bust dart going all the way to the apex because it just acts as a really nice reference point for us as we then manipulate the block and change it around. Now that we've done our manipulation of our dart and moved it around to our Armscye, we're going to grab some tracing paper and trace over, adding our seam allowances. As we trace over our block, we're only going to add seam allowances to the bits that are going to be attached to the back. Now, we're not going to be adding a neckline or a hem or anything else. This is just a technical exercise where we're looking at what happens when we rotate the dart around. In the next series, we're going to be looking at how to create tops, how to add collars, how to add cuffs, how to draft sleeves, and all of those things so that you can use this as a base to then jigsaw together the pieces that you want to create your perfect top. Start off by tracing down the centre front line exactly as it is over the block. Next, drawing the neckline. Add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to your shoulder seam and follow the line of your Armscye. We are not adding a seam allowance to the Armscye. Draw in your new dart, making sure to follow the line to the new dart point, which is 2 centimetres away from the apex. Add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to your side seam because this will be attached to the back. And just follow the line of the dart. We're not adding any hem or anything like that to this, just because we are just doing a technical exercise here. Draw in your waist dart. Make sure you're drawing this all as accurately as possible using a nice sharp pen. Next, we're going to annotate the pattern piece because this is a pattern piece that we will be cutting out in a minute. So the first thing to note is that we need to place the pattern piece on the fold along the centre front. Our grain line needs to run parallel with the centre front line, and it's always good practice to mark on where the apex is. Finally, just annotate the pattern piece with a name. So this is our front bodice, Armscye dart, cut 1 on fold. Excellent. Once you've done that and drawn out your pattern piece for your front bodice, we'll then do the whole of the same process for the back pattern piece as well, adding our seam allowance to our centre back, our shoulders and our side seam. Allow a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to the centre back. Draw in your waist and dart exactly as it is on the block. Add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to your side seam and then draw in your Armscye exactly as it is. Add a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance to your shoulders and draw in your dart. Draw in your neckline. Grain line follows the line of the centre back. Annotate your pattern piece to say that it is the back bodice we need to cut to, and then add your pattern name. Now that you've drawn your pattern pieces, you may go and cut those out using a pair of scissors and then cut them out of calico as well, making sure to transfer all of the line markings in whichever way you want to. Excellent. So once you've cut out your 2 pattern pieces, your front and your back, we're then going to pin and sew the darts. If you're not sure exactly how to do this, you can refer back to video 22, which was where we did a really detailed video all about how to cut and sew your toile. This technique of sewing up the darts is exactly the same as that one. So if you're not sure, go and check that out. We're going to pin and sew all of these 4 darts together now. Once you've pinned all the darts, we're then going to sew them using our sewing machine. As always with this series, I will be using contrasting thread, but you can use whatever you want. Once you have sewn all your darts in your front and your back, we're then going to press all of the darts towards the side seam and down at the front, towards the side seam and down. Don't forget that you can use a tailor's ham to help you with that if you need, just to get a nice soft curve at the end of the dart. With right sides together, place the back bodice over the front and pin the seams together. We're going to pin the side seams and the shoulder seams. Next, we're going to sew those 4 seams using a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Excellent. Once you've sewn that all together, we want just to go and press those seam allowances open so they're nice and flat. So let's go and take a look at what this looks like now. I'll pop it on and you can take a look. Compared to our standard body block, this does look a little bit different, doesn't it? It's a really nice fit though still, and a really interesting process to see how it looks when you rotate it around. How do you feel about this? Let us know in your comments. Which version do you like the most in terms of moving the darts around? So we've come to the end of our little mini video all about how to move and rotate the dart from the neckline across to the armscye. This was a great little episode just to have a look at that impact. I hope you found that really helpful. There are so many of these lovely pattern drafting videos for you to browse through on our YouTube Minerva channel. So do take a look, have a little look through all of those and decide and pick and choose which ones you want to watch to create your own beautiful garment. As ever, if you've got any comments or thoughts, feel free to pop them below the video. We always love to read those and respond to what you're telling us there as well. Don't forget that you can create a free Minerva account on our website where you can upload your own photos and show us what you've been creating as part of this pattern drafting series. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you found that really fun, and I will see you next time.